Good morning and welcome. I'm Julie Shore, President of Career Development Advisors, and Chrissy was just waving to you, my producer, and welcome to Next Step Wednesdays. How's everybody feeling? Yay.
I'm feeling good. Yeah, everyone, please share your comments and questions with us because we are talking about the 5 steps of working smarter, not harder. Super excited about this conversation.
It's always a challenge, right? So those of you that are just joining the program for the first time, I am, as I mentioned, President of Career Development Advisors, and I work with organizations and individuals on all things related to talent management and career management. So each week we pick a different topic that could be relevant either way. And as Chrissy mentioned, 5 steps to working harder, not smarter. Whether you're an active job seeker, a passive job seeker, you have a rocking, awesome job right now and are especially loving it working virtually. I hope these tips and these steps will be helpful. And the reason I do this show midweek is because many of us are like, it's Wednesday. Oh, is it only Wednesday? So when I work with clients, I thought, let's give some really helpful things that people can do in real time and really take action on or begin to think about through the end of the week. So yes, today we're going to talk about how can we be more productive? And again, not to sound cliche, but working smarter, not harder. We all have, multiple tugs on our time and our expertise, and both in our work lives and in our personal lives. And for those of us working virtually, it certainly has become more blurry, those boundaries. And so I want to share a few tips today of things you can consider if it feels right for you to be implementing at work or at home or both. And so actually, this topic was super timely, I should say, as last Friday morning, I woke up and I thought, I am just exhausted, mentally exhausted. And I forced myself out of bed at my normal time. And I have been working virtually for the last 18 years, so that's nothing new. But, so I try to stick to my little routine. And I usually, midway through my workout, wake up through my first cup of coffee, but I was just zapped. My energy was gone. And, I started to look back at my week last week, and it's pretty common for me to facilitate webinars or speak a couple times a week. But it is different, this dynamic, doing it online, virtually versus in person. And there's a lot of studies out there about this Zoom fatigue. And so I thought, let me take a look as we're talking today. And I was on 15 or 16 Zooms through Thursday. And it's no wonder by Friday morning, I was like, oh my goodness, my energy was just gone. And again, I'm not someone who likes to sit back. A pet peeve of mine is being inefficient. So anyway, I had to snap out of it and got through Friday. And so, I want to start by asking you, have you ever hit a brick wall and just felt like, or, the old picture of someone, holding your forehead and you're just like running in place? Have you ever just hit a brick wall? And what are your bricks? What do you feel like you just have to pick apart or take away or move out of your way so you can be your best self at work, your best self at home? Again, no matter what phase of your talent management cycle, personally or journey you're on, what are your bricks? And so for me, what was in my way were those Zoom meetings, and they're super important, but it gave me pause to take a step back and think, okay, let me look at my calendar for next week. And could some of these Zooms turn into phone calls? And most certainly they could. And I think for a while, we all sort of, knee-jerked into Zoom and video conference to make sure we're engaging with our clients, our customers, our employees, our families. And that's all wonderful. But at some point, if we're feeling tired, that could be why. And some of us have our most creative moments when we're not having to watch everything that's going on, but for example, can be on the telephone and be walking around. And it's hard to do that in a Zoom. You might make people a little nauseous. I actually get motion sick. So, please type in and share with us, what are your bricks? Like, what has just felt like either a ton of bricks on your shoulders or just something that just made you stop dead in your tracks? And that's what we want to try and figure out. And a good way to do that is certainly to look back at your calendar, but we want to look forward and share some ways to do that moving forward as well. And so step 1 is I would like you to list. Again, get pen and paper out, if you're all electronic, you're working in a project management software, this time together, I really want you to take action and carve out time to make yourself better and to get you where you want to be in your career. Whether, again, it's with your current organization or it's, you're on that job search journey actively. So what is holding you back? What is standing in your way? Make a list of those 3 things that you did last week that absolutely exhausted you. And how can you make some of those changes? Step 2 is, what, in fact, can you change? So as I mentioned, figuring out, do all of those interactions have to be in person, quote unquote, on Zoom video conference? What else? Again, that second step, Chris, if you can move the slide forward for me, that'd be great. What else can we change? Sometimes we often say, oh, but I can't because, or, oh, this person's relying on me for this because. Chat in if you're a people pleaser. I used to be a serial people pleaser. And it was up until about 4 years ago, I realized, like, I'm never going to please everybody all the time. And that took a lot of pressure off. And that's clearly a mindset issue. If you're one of those people that you're the go-to person at work, or you always volunteer for things, or when people can't figure things out, they go to you, that's great to a certain extent, but is it costing you your own development, your own leadership potential? So you need to think about, what you're doing, and does it really fit in with your life? And we all have different phases in our lives that we go through. I will tell you, again, I think it was about 4 years ago, and I actually had a friend send me this mug. You can see it says Nope, because I was addicted to volunteering. I was on a lot of boards, I chaired committees, all that good stuff. And I finally said, time out, I can't do it anymore. I just can't serve my clients well, my family well, and in these heavy duty volunteer roles. And so I made the deliberate decision to retire for a bit from some of these leadership positions. There's an event in the community the day of, I'm your girl, I'm there. But all the advanced planning, and this is what I learned about myself, and it was a hard realization at first too, that I just didn't have all the back end time. And so there's ways you can still do the things you like to do and be with the people you like to be with, both in work and outside of work, but figure out, are there different ways that you could contribute? And so stop trying to be everything to everyone and think about, what is pulling you down? What is exhausting you? Is it responsibilities at work? Is it that you are in active job search mode and you don't have the time? Maybe you're in passive job search mode, so meaning you have a job, it's okay, but you really want to take action forward. And I coach a lot of people who are in what I'll call the passive mode, where they have a great job, but they really want something different or more. And maybe they're not making the progress they want to because they aren't allocating the time to do that. So it's not being selfish, it's being productive, because at the end of the day, this isn't a dress rehearsal, guys. Like, this is it. And we need to make the contributions we want to make and that we were intended to make, so we can serve other people. Step 3 is look at your calendar. I've alluded to that quite a bit, I think, in prior sessions together as well as today. But your calendar should look different at different months of the year, not just because it's, holiday seasons, but for those of you that are trying to juggle home responsibilities with kids, parents, grandparents, extended family, whatever your other responsibilities are out of work, in the community, those leadership roles, look at your calendar. And does everything have a spot? There were times when my calendar would be like double booked, and it's like, how am I going to be 2 places at one time? And so I would encourage you now to look at your calendar for next week and the following week through the end of the month. And are you feeling pressured still? And if so, why? Can something be removed? Even look at the next 2 days. So let's say it's Wednesday, today's Wednesday, obviously, and you're feeling very overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, I just have to get through the end of the week. I don't know how I'm going to get everything done. Look at your calendar. Can you reschedule something to next week? Or next week, if you have that situation, can you reschedule something to the following week? What's the worst thing that can happen? I get there's deadlines and client expectations, but so much of client satisfaction or working with customers, it's about setting those expectations. If you are in a professional services field, let's say in the legal field, I work with quite a bit of those folks. and you meet with a client and say, hey, our typical turnaround time is 6 weeks. They're going to understand that in most cases. Again, there'll be the rare circumstance where someone's thinking you're available tomorrow, or you'll, get them the deliverables you've spoken about by next week. But setting expectations can take a lot of pressure off of yourself. You are there to serve a lot of different people, internal to your organization or external. So are those, I know we talk about goals being SMART, are your day-to-day tasks, responsibilities, how you're being calendared, are they SMART? Are they realistic? And, are they necessary? So I would definitely take a look at that and think through, are there things that I can adjust? And, making sure you allocate time for lunch. Oh my goodness. I talk with so many people. And again, I used to be super guilty of this. Even working from home, it wasn't until 2 years ago that I actually forced myself to get away from my desk, go sit outside for 15 minutes, and just do nothing. No phone, no reading email, nothing. Just outside time for 15 minutes to recharge my batteries. And that has been wonderful. And now that many of you are working virtually, you can take that walk around the block, you can do your exercise, you can go for the bike ride, whatever it might be. But if it's important to you, schedule it into your day for sure. Step 4 is, what is your most productive time of day? And are you a night owl? Do you kind of get fired up and moving, starting mid-afternoon to evening? Or are you an early bird? Do you like to get up, get it done, and then your energy tends to wane by 3 o'clock? I'm the latter. My energy tends to wane by 3 o'clock. I get up, I'm at it hard for many hours. I sprint through the day. And then about 3 o'clock, if you're asking me for a creative idea or to write something, no, I got to do that in the morning. So knowing yourself, it's going to help you work smarter, not harder, and be more productive. Where you have the control over your time and your schedule, make sure you're actually scheduling those tough things to create proposals, write business plans, develop webinars, write articles, whatever it might be, coming up with a new analysis where you have to analyze data for clients. Again, I'd love to hear your occupations too, and tell me more about, what some of those struggles are. But whatever the most difficult things are that require you to really think and be most creative, make sure you're doing it during your most productive time of day. That is absolutely key. And have a question for you. How many hours a day do you think we are truly productive? There was research done a couple of years ago, and I was actually presenting a webinar, and I actually just took a look-see a few months ago to see if it's really changed, and it hasn't. If you had to guess, how many hours a day do you think the average person is productive? Now, this is, again, pre-COVID information, so traditional office environments, probably a mix of telework, at home, that kind of thing. How many hours a day? I usually have people say, and feel free to chat in, I usually have people say, 7, 5. Actually, the answer is 2 hours and 53 minutes. So just a little bit less than 3 hours a day. So if I'm an employer and my employees are only productive less than 3 hours a day, that's frightening. That is absolutely frightening. So let's think about, how can we up our productivity, not only for the folks we work with, but for ourselves. And one of the step 5 that you see here is to turn off your notifications on your phone and on your email. I know that's like, what? I can't do that. I turned off my email notifications probably over a year ago. It was very liberating. I'm about to take my email off my phone as well. Texts, I can't turn off those notifications because that's the only way my kids will communicate with me. They're teenagers. They will not pick up the phone and call. So I have to make sure I'm paying attention to those text messages. So remove those email apps. I know many of us with iPhones, you can actually see your screen time and how often you were on your phone, that kind of thing. There's also an app called Moment that actually tells you how many times you pick up your phone in a given day. That's actually frightening. So again, just think about simple ways to increase your productivity, lower the distractions. And the bonus tip to share with you is, Chrissy, yeah, you need to set boundaries. When you're at work, be at work. And when you're not working, be at home. And I'm going to share with you something I use. I know you can't see me. I'll be back. It says mom is working until 11:30, quiet please. So I know with a lot of us picking up and working from home virtually, it's been tricky, right? Really tricky, especially if you have younger children, even if you have a spouse, whatever, and you don't have that separate office space with the, door to be closed. This tells my family like, hey, I have a break at 11:30 or whatever time it is. I'm good for questions. I will help you do whatever. We can chat then. We can have lunch together, whatever it is. So think about that. And I don't know, could you put one of these in your office, even when you go into your office? A lot of times collaboration is on the rise for sure in the workplace. I just did a webinar on that as well. And, but collaboration means something different to everybody. It can mean knocking like, hey, do you have a minute? Every time you have a fleeting thought. It could mean we sit in this conference room and have a 3-hour meeting. It could mean we sit in a Zoom and have a 3-hour meeting. Other people might say, let's get together for an hour, brainstorm, and then meet back, in 3 days, or report what you're working on in our project app. So collaboration means something different to everybody. And so we really have to set those boundaries in order to be most productive.
So I have a question. So you can tell someone that you're setting those boundaries and they can see that, but how do you do it for yourself? When you can't turn it off and on.
Right. Yeah, for yourself. Exactly. So again, working with entrepreneurs, if you're an entrepreneur yourself, it is really, really hard. So one thing I know that has worked for some business owners is, because our work is never done, right? When you're not working, your mind's always going. The worst feeling for me, and I still have to work on being very present when I'm not quote unquote working, because my kids will be in the car and they'll say, blah, 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 mom, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, did you hear me? I'm like, what? Like, I have no idea what they said. And so it's trying to separate the physical space, walk away, shut it down, hide your phone from yourself, shut it off, or pick a night of the week where you're just going to bang it out. You're going to stay late and you're going to work late, or 2 nights a week, or whatever it is. It's almost like pre-setting the schedule. So it's like, okay, I'm super busy today. Like Wednesday, I'm going to be working through 8:00. So at my house, I'll say, guys, I need you to make dinner. I'm going to pop out to eat dinner, but this is a long day for me. And they say, okay. And yeah, it really takes discipline. So I literally put my phone in a different room and walk away for a few hours because we're too accessible. And it is really hard, especially when you're working from home. The other piece I'll say, Chrissy, is, that calendar, you need to have, first of all, a single point of entry. I will tell you, if you have a calendar where there's multiple points of entry and it's not syncing, that's not going to help productivity for sure, right? But the other thing is all this stuff churning in your mind that you have to do, slot it into your calendar, and you have to commit to that time slot. That's a really hard thing to do.
And then also, what are the repercussions if we don't do these steps?
At some point, you're going to have a day like I did on Friday and wake up and be exhausted. Or I know it's happened to me in the past too. I'm like, nope, I got it. I can do it myself. And I had mixed up appointments. And that's when I'm like, all right, time out. This isn't working. I need a new system. I need someone to help me with the scheduling. And so some of it is sort of a natural consequence, right? When you are finding yourself not at your best for your clients, or not at your best for your customers, or not at your best for your team members. And you just feel this inordinate amount of stress and you want to get out of it. And so sometimes it takes time to really work through that. So again, I help people, whether they're, again, in a current job and looking to sort of scale up their potential, or they're passively looking for other opportunities. We talk about all of these things because they can't help but affect your path forward and where you want to be in your career.
Very helpful. And if someone watching here is saying, okay, so how do I get in contact with Julie so she can organize my life, my business, and all the above?
Sure. So I always am available to schedule a strategy session. Actually, one thing I neglected to mention on the calendar piece and organizing your time is, we have this predetermined, maybe some of you don't, chat in if you don't, but this predetermined notion that meetings can only be at the top of the hour or the bottom of the hour. Sometimes meetings only take 20 minutes. So like my complimentary strategy sessions are 20 minutes. So I schedule them every 20 minutes. And think about a way to maximize your time too. Do your meetings in your current role really require an hour, or can they be 30 minutes? 30 minutes or less. So schedule them on the quarter hour, the 20 after, that we sort of lock ourselves into this whole, it has to be 2 or 2:30. No, not true. So thank you, Chrissy. A couple of things. So if you'd like to schedule a complimentary strategy session, you're welcome to reach out to me. I'm usually about two to 3 weeks out, but certainly if you can get on a list if something changes before then. And you can just email me at jshore@careerdevelopmentadvisors.net. And I also wanted to share, I do have 2 upcoming webinars. Tomorrow is actually focused on switching gears and how to begin the career exploration process. So if you are someone who is interested in sort of exploring, you've had this nudge of, maybe I'm not in the right job, maybe I'm not in the right role, I don't know. You'll learn some tips tomorrow to get started. And then for those of you that are really in an active job search or contemplating an active one, next Thursday, the 13th, I'll focus on kind of a job search action plan and specific steps there that you can take. But at any time, I would be welcome any connection, or email me if you just have a quick question. I'm happy to do that as well. And next week, we're going to talk about scaling your network and how important that is, not in active job search mode, but even if you're happy as a clam where you are currently. We all need people. We are all social creatures. We are humans. Again, that human being, not human doing. And I truly believe we are all good-natured in everything we do. We're just have different experiences to share. And so now more than ever, your professional development, your own development towards your next goals are important. And so how do you utilize that network, and why is it important? So tune in next week and we'll be addressing that topic.
Every time, I feel like you're speaking right to me when I watch your live streams, Julie.
Well, good. I hope it's helpful. And for those of you that watch later, again, feel free to send me an email, jshore@careerdevelopmentadvisors.net. And I'm also would love your feedback or suggestions on other topics that you think would be helpful or relevant. So thank you again. I hope you all have a great week and received a few tips to help get you through the end of the week. Take care.